Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Old fighters must leave now. Is that the tone? Is that the new climate? Is that the environment that's being created at this moment when it comes to Turki Alalshikh, Saudi Arabia, and Riyadh season events? Now, what we've learned is when Turkey's in the house, every day's Thanksgiving. Him coming into boxing has just done something amazing, especially for us boxing fans. It has given us fights that we would not have seen. And for those of you who are saying, hey, how do you know that? Because nobody out here had the Wu-Tang cream, cha-ching-ching, dollar bill, y'all, that they wanted to put up to try to make these great fights that we've been getting over the last couple of years. But that being said, was the approach taken to have some of these big name fighters on the Saudi cards to help the Riyadh season events and for people to view Saudi as a destination and to ultimately put the old heads who've been carrying the sport in fights with the young up-and-coming fighters, because those guys are the next generation and they haven't reached their life, their expiration dates. And as a result, you kind of use up the old heads, put the new heads in position, and use the old heads as a springboard to put them into the position you want. So now your Riyadh season brand continues to grow and you continue to have success. But now you do it with fighters where you know aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So there are core questions that fans are asking. Is Turki Alalshikh, when Turkey's in the house every day's Thanksgiving, strategically using established aging stars to accelerate Saudi's boxing legitimacy, transfer attention to younger fighters with longer shelf lives? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, the answer is yes and yes. You look at Fabio Wardley right now. His name is bubbling. He's a champion now. But Fabio Wardley, his name still doesn't ring bells like Deontay Wilder, like Tyson Fury, like Anthony Joshua, like Usyk, even like a Joseph Parker, even though he just beat him. And he's a champion now. But could you imagine a couple of years ago if they were putting the young guns up against each other without these old heads who have established fan bases? How much would the Riyadh season brand, when it comes to boxing, have grown? Not very much. That's why you're seeing a transfer of attention to the younger fighters with longer shelf lives, but they were attaching them to the older heads. Another core question fans are asking are massive purses incentives for old fighters to accept. And I'm going to tell you, it is an incentive for them to accept high-risk matchups and the last great payday fight, because when they come out there and get in a fight that Turki Alalshikh wants made, those fights are 50-50 matches and they deliver drama, not dominance. And that's what Turki Alalshikh wants. He wants drama. He doesn't want dominance. So when you see these fighters getting paid these gazillions of dollars, you better believe that that's the incentive to say, hey, look, I know you probably don't want to fight this guy, looking at where you're at in your career, where he's at in his career, but I'm gonna make it to where you can't say no, because I can do that, and we print our own money in Saudi, so we don't care. Plus, we got the damn sovereign wealth fund, and again, we print our own money, so we don't care. So when you look at that, it's interesting, but there's still one last question some people are asking, and that core question is there simple free market boxing with unprecedented funding? Is it just a guy who has a lot of money and he's just out here having fun making all the fights that he would like to see, and people are looking too deep into it, thinking that he's in with the new and out with the old and giving the old heads retirement paydays? I mean, everyone's going to have an opinion. But what we actually know, now this is non-speculative, okay? Saudi boxing events prioritize global relevance. They prioritize big names and high-stakes matchups, all right? You can look at the entertainment that they're bringing over there, the different type of sports they're bringing over there. Everything with them is all about global relevance, big names, high-stake matchups. But when it comes to boxing, and you look at what they're doing, they know the older stars bring brand recognition, they bring a casual fan attention, and instant credibility. Even when they had Mahmoudov fighting the goddamn guy from Germany, man, I'm seeing his face. Ajit Kabayel. I didn't know much about Kabayel. I knew he was involved in people's sparring camps, but I didn't know much about him. But man, I was like, whoa, you saw what happened in that fight. Then you saw the Fords fighting over there, the Vargas fighting, the Nick Balls and Deontay Wilder and Parker, and Deontay Wilder and Zhang, and then Usyk, Fury. Then you got Joshua and Wallin and Ngannou. Then you got Joshua and Dubois. Then you got Fabio Wardley getting into the mix, Atomic getting into the mix. That's where the new heads started showing up. So those big names had a lot to do to help with the Saudi boxing events. But I want to say this, that instant credibility. These new names, they don't quite have they haven't put in enough work to carry the credibility of the old heads. Now, as far as paying huge purses, we know this happens. But that attracts fighters who otherwise might not take risky fights. Why would I take a risky fight for $1 million, $2 million, $5 million? Man, shit. You bubble that up to 15, 20 million. I am in the house. You ain't got to worry about me. And it forces the boxing ecosystem to move faster. You see, when you put the kind of money up, there's no taking 3, 4, 5 months to try to negotiate a fight, 1, 2 years to make the fight. Nah, we don't have time for all that. What do you want? I want 10 million. Good, here's 20. Shut up, get in the ring. Tomorrow. They're in the ring tomorrow. They ain't even they won't even have a training camp. They jump their ass in that ring for that 20 million. And that's the thing about boxing. And when there's money, paying huge purses forces the boxing ecosystem to move faster. So this alone does not equal exploitation, it equals leverage. And this is what we know when it comes to Saudi and how they use their money and the matchmaking. Now, why older fighters are central to the strategy? Listen, older fighters have already established several things, and you guys can fill in the blanks on these, but fan bases, defined narratives, profiles, and clear legacy arcs. All right, it's already in place. They require less marketing education. They know what to do. They validate the stage. If they're fighting here, it must matter. When Canelo decided he was going to sign with DAZN, people lost their minds and everybody started following Canelo. You know what I'm saying? When Canelo said, okay, I'm going to go over there and fight in Saudi, more and more people were already doing it, but even more people started paying attention, saying if he's doing it, it must be a good deal. So Saudi boxing skipped the build slowly phase. They were able to expedite everything because, again, you know what they have? Wu-Tang Cream, cha-ching-ching, dollar bill, y'all. Now, the retirement payday theory, why it makes sense. Aging fighters often face declining leverage, risk-averse promoters, fewer blockbuster options. Saudi money removes the negotiation friction. For years, you've always heard the difficulties in talks, difficulties in negotiations, A side, B side, who wants the largest share of the pie? Out of a $10, $15, $20 million pot, one guy wants 75%, the other guy doesn't want 25%. They can never come to an agreement. With Turki Alalshikh, they ain't got none of that bullshit. He has in mind what he wants to pay you. He has in mind what he wants to pay the other guy. That there is no one pot of money that they split. No, you negotiate directly with Turkey. Whatever you negotiate with him, you get. And the other person negotiates directly with Turkey, and whatever they can negotiate, they get. So there is no A side, B side bullshit with Turkey. It's, hey, this is what I want to offer you. Take it or leave it. And most of the time, he wants to give them more than what they were going to ask for anyway. So it is what it is. This looks like a retirement payday, but it's also constant base. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have time to come and play around. That Saudi money offsets the physical risk, and it makes dangerous fights financially logical. And that's why having a guy like Turki Alalshikh involved with that Saudi money, it makes especially some of these older fighters going to fights that they normally wouldn't take. But why take a less risk fight that's less risk, but you're getting 1/100th of the money that you would get taking a higher risk, and you can still get hurt in that fight. Like Deontay Wilder, him fighting Usyk. Look, that fight's gonna happen, people. Everybody has an opinion. Some feel Wilder wins, some feel he loses. I'll say this. When it comes to the Deontay Wilder perception, fans believe Wilder was matched into high-risk situations with a limited upside. Okay? That's the fact. That's what people feel. I'm not saying it's true. It's just what fans believe. The counterpoint is Wilder accepted the fights. He received career-high compensation. But the reality is, power punchers age poorly, timing matters more than geography, and the wear and tear from those Fury fights took a toll on Wilder, and it showed up in Saudi. So the outcome doesn't equal the intent, people. Just because you may intend on winning doesn't mean it's going to happen that way. Now, something that I find a little bit quirky is this shit going on with Usyk. I don't know if he's taking a break from Riyadh season. I don't know what's going on with Usyk, but something seems a bit off here. Even Tyson Fury, after he lost to Usyk in the second fight, talking about how you don't get a fair shake. And we all know Tyson Fury has been the company man, the secret society been helping his ass ever since he returned to the sport. So Tyson Fury, Kinahan had everything to do with where Tyson Fury got to in the sport of boxing when Tyson Fury returned. So Fury can stop with all the bullshit. But why would a guy like Usyk and Fury step back? Because they made enough money? Look, I don't know, but I'll say this. Fighters choosing to step away does not mean they were mistreated or they were forced out. Okay? So I want to make sure that I emphatically state that. However, it can indicate strategic career control. It could indicate physical wear, personal priorities. All three of those would apply to Fury and Usyk. Just trying to control their careers, especially they're both at the end of their career. They got physical wear. The guys both have been in some hard fights. Fury fighting Wilder, fighting Usyk. Usyk fighting AJ, fighting Fury, now about to fight Wilder. Their personal priorities are going to be different at this point in time. But the bottom line is elite fighters always reassess after mega fights. That could be what's going on. So the ability to opt out is power. It's not victimhood. But it does make you wonder what the hell is going on, right? Now, with Dillian Whyte, talk about somebody where the entire system did not like and wanted to see him put out of his misery. Messed around, took a fight with Moses Atama, Turki Alalshikh, one of his favorites. Young gunner tranquilized Dillian Whyte in the first round. And this is where we got to ask the question about the risk profile and the risk profile issue. Fighters like Whyte occupy a dangerous middle ground. Famous enough to headline, vulnerable enough to lose decisively or get viciously knocked out. You see, these fighters are often overexposed and undershielded because Whyte's been looking for a fight, a big fight, ever since he had to follow with Eddie Hearn when they're supposed to do the AJ rematch and Dillian Whyte tested positive for another banned substance. Nobody's cared to work with Dillian Whyte. He was puffing up his chest, talking shit. He was a real difficult person to handle. He's very disrespectful. Then he came back and they said, okay, you want a big fight? You want to get in there and fight somebody? Forget Derek Chisora, fight Atama. He took the fight and he got tranquilized. But Saudi events magnify consequences. Wins and losers feel bigger. And the way that Dillian Whyte lost to Atama, that was one of the biggest, most destructive, most embarrassing, violent losses that I've seen in quite some time, especially with a fighter who was considered elite and at the top of the food chain at one point in his career. But that's what happens. That's exposure, people. If that's what you want to do, and you go out there and get your ass used for the money, for the dollar bill, y'all, it's exposure, not necessarily abuse. That was his choice to go fight. That was a consequence. But I just think they're using up older fighters. All right, I do think that. I just feel that way. But you know what? I think I need to be careful saying that. They are targeting the older fighters to help strengthen the event, but are fighters being used up, the older heads? Only if fighters are coerced, fighters are deceived, fighters are underpaid, then I say they're being used up. But I don't think anyone's been coerced, deceived, or underpaid. Unless someone comes out and they don't talk in fucking code, they just come out and shoot a straight no chaser. This is what I was promised. I didn't get that, and they're not going to give it to me. I was done wrong. Then we could say that. But none of this appears to be true about being coerced, deceived, or underpaid. But fighters are, one thing we know, highly compensated, informed, choosing participation. So risk acceptance does not equal exploitation. That's something they're choosing to do. So it is what it is. Now, is Turkey building the next generation? Hell yeah, he's building the next generation. That's not sinister. He's not doing anything illegal. Every era passes the torch, uses stars to introduce successors. And Turkey is making it to the point to where it happens rather quickly because he's got that Wu-Tang cream, cha-ching-ching, dollar bill, y'all. You see, Saudi boxing accelerates the process by compressing timelines, removing financial barriers. Younger fighters benefit from shared cards, global exposure, immediate relevance. And you know what, to be honest with you, this is how sports ecosystems evolve. And Turki Alalshikh and the Saudis have smart people around them. That's why they've been able to do what they're doing. Now, fans feel uneasy, and they aren't crazy because change is happening at a rapid rate. You know, change is not supposed to be a really fast process. You got to be a reason for the change. Then you identify the need for change. Then you unfreeze. Then you make the change, and then you lock it back in, right? There are steps to the change process. But when you see careers ending abruptly, familiar names fading, money has altered the natural order, fans start to confuse the speed of things with malice. And that's important to understand. Now, where fan speculation goes too far, I think when they start assigning intent without evidence, like you gotta have some proof of what you're claiming is intentionally happening. Start assuming losses equal manipulation, ignoring fighter agency, and treating fighters as victims when they're professionals and they've made the choice to get in the ring and fight these opponents because they're getting paid huge amounts of money. And then they got to deal with the consequences, not for us to come out there and make excuses and put them in a victim stance. No, the only stance they're in is standing there with the 2 feet spread, 24 inches apart, left hand in the pocket and right hand, signing the goddamn deposit slip for them millions of dollars they just made. So speculation becomes paranoia when every loss becomes a conspiracy. Simple. Speculation becomes paranoia when every loss becomes a conspiracy. So the moral gray area, now this is real. This is one thing that's very, very, very real. Massive money is what they're making, but massive money does tempt fighters to push past safe limits. I believe that 100%. And massive money does accelerate decline. Look, that's uncomfortable, but not illegal or unique to Saudi boxing. Boxing itself has always done this, just with less money, slower timelines. Now, what fans should actually watch for is, are younger fighters being protected? Are they being developed? Are they being promoted long term? And are older fighters being informed? Are they being paid fairly? Are they allowed to walk away? So far, the answer in all those things, in my opinion, lean towards yes. So, the hard truth, boxing has always consumed fighters. Saudi money didn't invent that, it exposed it. The difference now, fighters get paid before the damage, not after. So you can take this as you want. I'm going to just leave this with the audience. Turki Alalshikh, when Turkey's in the house, every day is Thanksgiving. What this man has done for boxing, doing for boxing, should be commended. It's not a villain story. It's not I don't think it's really a power shift. But I'll say fans are not wrong to ask questions. You should ask questions because when I watch some of this, I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But accusations require evidence, people, not outcomes. The bottom line, the sport is changing. Not everyone will survive the transition, man. Guys are going to lose. Maybe your favorite fighter. But it doesn't mean there's a master plan to destroy them at all. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. When Turkey's in the house, every day is Thanksgiving. Keep cool. I'm in the breeze.